this is a really sobering fact for every manager in digital space. Like 88% of users actually abandon and never return to the app due to glitches. And despite of having designs and testing in place, and I mean, you're building the app, you're expecting to have 1 million users, this is actually how the most apps end up, like abandoned and uninstalled and deleted. This is a survey from 2008 where iOS App Store actually said that 58% of the apps crashes or at least frozen once, which is, I mean, desperate things. So how actually to put your users in a good position? How they distinct good from bad? Well, the idea is to provide them as soon as possible or as early as possible this aha moment. I mean, by the definition, in a real life aha moment is when you are having something sobering, like for example, you want to become an entrepreneur, you want to go to art school, you want to do something which is very important for you. In the product management stuff, I would say it's when you provide value to your users. So here are some interesting facts about aha moments in real life. For example, IKEA founder, Ingvar Kamprad, who he couldn't fit the table into his car, so he took the legs off. Nick Woodman, GoPro founder, he went surfing and he couldn't be able to take a selfie. Brian Chesky, Airbnb founder, who rent an air mattress and earn cash. Or the WhatsApp founder, who couldn't afford to call his daddy back in Ukraine. Also, Dieter Mateschitz, I mean, this is how the famous Red Bull started. He was jet lagged in Thailand like 20 years ago. Those are pretty much the aha moments from the live case. But the big players in tech industry are doing the same. So they're tracking the users and they're trying to realize how they should offer them aha moment. Facebook, for example, if you connect with your 7 friends in 10 days, Slack, which is the most popular messaging app at the moment, is when you exchange 2,000 messages within the team. Dropbox is when you upload 1 file on one device. Twitter is when you follow 30 users. LinkedIn, which is same as Facebook social network, is when you made an X connections to Y days. Zendex, for example, which is not on this list, is when you create 5 supporting tickets in your for your team. But the question is where to place aha moment. Is it before you onboard the user or after you onboard the user? What do you think?
Both.
Sorry?
Both.
Good point. Anyone else? Okay, let's see.
Before.
Let's see. There are 3 usual types of onboarding. First is benefits-oriented onboarding, which is actually during the onboarding you're providing the value to your customers and giving them like the sneak peek what they're gonna have if they use your app. Second is function-oriented onboarding, which is some sort of tutorial how you are navigating through the app and how you're going to use it in the future. And progressive onboarding, as its name says, it's while you're progressing throughout onboarding, the app will unlock their features. Here's one good example about this startup which we work. By the way, we in the Ministry of Programming, as a startup workshop, we usually place aha moment before onboarding. This is one of the products which we launched in April this year. This product is actually, this product disrupted micromobility in Sweden, in Stockholm exactly. Imagine that you're, let's say, one of 200,000 daily commuters by a bike in Stockholm, and something is wrong with your bike. So you wouldn't expect to give all of your data. So you're in a hurry, you're in a rush, what do you want to do? You want to see what the app is for. So you will open a home screen, you tap your location where exactly, and after that, boom, you just book a service. Easy as that. Second example which we have is we usually use a guest mode as well for our other products. That means that you're allowed to discover product, you're allowed to roam around, to search, to be interested in the product itself. So we're not forcing you to do anything actually. You can roam around, and if you like the product, if you like the idea, you just can register within the seconds. How the big players are doing out there, if we are in MOP doing before onboarding. Duolingo is the most famous app for learning the foreign languages. They have actually 3 steps, which is having the aha moment before onboarding, in this case, after the onboarding, sorry. So in the first step, you can just see like the fancy Eiffel Tower illustration of it, and you just could not resist to start learning French. On step 2, you choose a daily goal. Are you going to return to the app? Is it casual, regular type of goals which you set for yourself? This is a really nice way for you to go back each day on the app. And eventually, on the step 3, they're not forcing the users to pop on immediately. So what they do is actually depends on your knowledge of the French language or any other foreign language. You just pick, are you a starter there, or are you experienced already, which is actually saving the users from a bad user experience. One of the best examples out there for using onboarding after, showing aha moment after the onboarding is actually Slack example. I mean, everyone uses Slack. So what Slack did was awesome. So they just cut the number of the stuff, naming your organization, simple functional onboarding in terms of exploring the Slack, guided tour, and eventually something really unexpected that you chat with a Slack bot. So simple as that. Name your organization. This screen is wonderful. If you just take a look at it, it's just saying what is intent for. So Slack is the messaging app for the teams. No any visual distractions. You can just have option to explore Slack or to skip the tutorial. I imagine that no one is skipping. Everybody just hits that to explore Slack. Second is when you are in the app, Slack is kind of guiding you what you could use in the app itself. And the last step is actually chatting with Slackbot, saying hi, how are you, blah, blah. And eventually, user feedback was awesome in this case. It was just unexpected behavior, and I'm really keen to see what is going to be the next big thing out there about the Slack's onboarding. But it's just not about the Slack. I mean, the other famous app, the mindfulness app, what they did actually, they cut the numbers of onboarding screens to 1, and they just elevated the core action on the product, which is to start your meditation session. And they just realized that they even they even utilize Android material design here, and they just realized that during the week too, their retention increased from 90% to 33%. On the long run, during 30 days, they said that their retention rate was 3 times higher than before, which is really awesome. This is a typical user journey which users are facing, actually. They start to use your product, they're happy. After that, they might be bored because you're not offering something engaging for them, something which would be interesting. After that, they're going to leave you at this sad moment over here. And yeah, maybe if you do something, it'll return and stick up with you. So what if you have actually bad onboarding experience, and how it will affect your discovery of aha moment? Well, the first stuff is what we usually do is set up analytics and track user behavior from the day 1 before we even launch the product. So after that, we have actually complete insight what the users are doing on your platform for your product. And by this, we are making decisions by data-driven. We're not actually following up any of the C-level decisions which could impact the product direction. One of the stuff which I like is actually using usability testing. Last year on the conference, I said that it doesn't prove anything. It just cut down religious debates. Meaning that you can just use any of usability platforms out there. The most favorite one which I use is usertesting.com. It's really simple to use. There is an option for you to test something. Is it a prototype? Is it a website? Or is it an app? So you can just provide a link for a prototype or for the web app, or even download EPA or APK file. Depends on what you're going to test. Is it iOS or Android app? The second step is actually to select the audience and to build a test plan. While you're selecting the audience, there are multiple questions or multiple options for you how you can do it. You can choose, for example, are the users or participants in this usability testing average or advanced one? Are they using smartphones or any other device? demographic filters like age, like employee status, like household incomes, country which you want to test it, etc. The final step in usability testing is actually to create a test plan, which is a set of user tasks which user needs to do. You can create questions like multiple types of questions. For example, do you find onboarding difficult or not? Yes or no. You can also have rating scales. You can also have a written response in this context. So whatever, it's up to you. So remember this startup which we just mentioned. When we launched this product, we were expecting to have an onboarding rate, conversion rate to be like almost 90% because we find it very easy. Because of easiness, we thought it's going to be like 90% from the beginning. We were tracking from day one how many users start their onboarding and how many users actually completed it. And we found out that this was measured like 1 month ago. It was 65% at the moment. So it's pretty bad. I mean, first step which we actually did is we perform analysis. Why is this happening? Because we have a data insights on the first place. What we did actually is, because we know the product very well, CEO of the company of this company of startup wanted to have 3 steps during onboarding. Step 3 was adding the bike details during onboarding. We just find out that users are spending their time, a lot of unnecessary time on this step 3. Now you will say how this time could be unnecessary because bike details, I mean it's a bike service app, why, I mean it's unnecessary. But just imagine how many of you know it's bike details. No one, I mean you need to put like year of manufacturing, blah blah blah. It was like dozens of data to be fulfilled. All those steps was optional, but people didn't get it. So what we did actually, we cut down our step to we cut down that step. So we had like only 2 steps, and after that our conversion rate got higher. Right now it's about 80%, and this resulted actually in the hundreds of new activations. What if you're actually stuck? What will happen? I mean, in this particular case. And how can you eventually have a higher user retention rate? I would say no matter where you place aha moment, you need to emphasize it, I mean right away, somehow. Second step is to remove unnecessary stuff from onboarding, as just we did on our product, like the mindfulness did on there as well. And I would say the third one, which is really important, is to run targeted campaigns for your passive users or for the users who churn off from you. Why is that? Because they're a massive source of data, what's wrong with your product. So for example, also on this product, we did email campaigns, and we targeted all of the users who were passive, who haven't finished their onboarding, plus the users who run away from us. We just realized a couple of stuffs which were critical at that moment. One of those is that we had a really small service area in Stockholm because we were just limited ourselves in the MVP phase only for Stockholm downtown, and people were just striving to get even more. And this is why we communicate this with the CEO. We said to him, okay, you need to improve operational team, you need to add more people who will fix those bikes, as we call them, bike buddies. And yeah, this is how we actually did it on the first place. Yeah, and the last stuff, why user will stick with you. I mean, probably, who knows this? Who's aware of this model? Yeah, just to mention, I mean, Faris, my CEO, he just bounced in the room. So if you take a look at it, I want to mention this honestly. So him and I were in Cyprus, and we were on different product. My team was working on this, and each of the developers wanted to have, like, first you took like first name, last name, phone number, then you took the credit card from the people, and then you show them what the app will do. And Faris and I were chatting, and he said, "Well, man, this is nonsense. I mean, come on. Despite of the urgency, they need to have at least like the option on the first place what the app is intent for." And it was like the weeks of influencing because developers were on the side with the CEO. They didn't want to change it. And I don't know. I mean, I showed them the numbers from previous products which we're running, and eventually, like they said, okay, we give up. You won. So because of that, thank you, man. I mean, this is your inspiration for the talk. About the hook model, this is famous hook model by Nir Eyal. How the users will stay within your app and what will attract them to be there constantly. First stuff is trigger. Trigger could be something which is external or internal. External could be push notification from Facebook, where you receive it and you're gonna eventually do some action. If you combine this trigger with your internal triggers which you're feeling at the moment, for example, boredom or anxiety, you will end up doing something, scrolling around. This is why Pinterest invented first, like infinite scroll, Instagram copy, blah, blah. So action, you took the action already. What you're searching for on this activity feed is, let's say, funny video. After that, you will just, if you start to laughing, you will get a small dopamine hit. After that, you will actually want to, you give a reward, you get a reward, sorry. After that, you're in the investment phase. And at that moment, company will usually search, trying to give them something for return. For example, they will request from you either your time, either your money, or whatever. But when you made this investment, the next action could be, for example, if you like a comment from your friend, or if you comment on their photo. This is like the good stuff for you to go back and boom, you're inside this vicious cycle. Then you had a trigger, then you start doing some other actions, searching for rewards and getting the investments at the beginning. This is why Instagram is really famous. You're not expecting, I mean, you don't know what you're expecting when you open Instagram each time. This is why you're returning back all the time. Yeah, and that would be pretty much it. Who knows me knows that I'm very, very fast with presentations, so. Yeah, shoot the questions. Any questions? Yeah?
Yeah, you showcased us the user testing, which is great. Who has the ownership, like in your team or organization, for the user testing?
Product manager.
Product manager.
Yeah. Last week, product designer, definitely. Someone who is scalable in UX particularly. And how you do it, you actually run the tests with product designer in the first place. You sit down, write down the test scenarios. Then it's usually the product designer who's running the session, and the product manager is noting down what's happening, noting down the behavior. You have two types. One is a moderated session, which is more face-to-face, and the second is unmoderated, like the testing tool which I just showed to you, because you're not able to see behavior of the users who are testing your product.
And which one performs best for you? Or which one
I would say the first stuff, because if your product is, should reach a global audience, I would say this is the good stuff to start, to validate your MVP, validate your idea. And after that, it's definitely user interviews on a daily basis, because usability testing is continuous process. Yes, Andrew?
Did you do any usability testing with the mock-ups or prototypes or anything? Not with the actual product? Or
In this case, we actually had a finished product, but I encourage you, if you're in a hurry, definitely, because if you have a clickable prototype, it's the same. Platform behaves as the same. You just provide a link, and in the link you just provide the test scenarios, so actually it's kind of good combination. After that, you just simply collect the feedback, go on the back, we'll prioritize the items, and do the rest of the work. Yes?
So let's talk about the MVP. You said that initially, basically, in the MVP phase, you build the core functionalities of the app. How hard it is to actually retain people on the app if you give them a limited functionality? Meaning, you build the MVP, you get them in an aha moment, and then you lose them because you're building in the background new functionalities, but it takes time to deliver them.
Yeah, good question. I would say if the app is having a good idea, and if it solves your problem, whatever it is, and if you're giving them the reason to be there on the platform, which is some of the stuff which I mentioned here, they're gonna stick around. So Usually, if you validate the MVP, you will validate the core set of functionalities. You will not add, for example, chat in this project because we don't need a chat at the moment. Just for example, I mean, the idea was to validate all the users in their state of urgency, open the app and pin location and request someone from Bike Buggy to be there and to fix that. That was the case, I mean. But yeah, I don't know if I answered your question.
It's difficult to answer.
Yeah, I would say we can chat after this. Cool.
What are
Of
some
course,
of
who
the,
will ask the Nana, yeah.
what are some of the different triggers that you used other than notifications? Are there any?
I would say there's notifications and activity feed or providing them what's happening on the platform in terms of if you have especially social component in this case is something similar. So if you find their weak spot and if you yeah, I would say that is like the two most important stuff to do. There is some other stuff like providing the offers for your users in terms if let's say you target everyone with some sort of discount or whatever. I mean, just to try to maintain what you're having in terms of your user base. Anyone?
What's your response rate when you're targeting passive users?
Well, actually, half of them usually do not open their emails. Half of them unsubscribe, so you will end up like within a small group of people saying like if the product is having, let's say, 500 users at the moment, if you get a response from 50 people, it's awesome. So
is that large enough sample?
I would say it's large enough sample because if people just run away from you and they're still running away in terms of unsubscribing from your, let's say, email campaigns or whatever, that definitely means that they're not interesting. So do not bother them anyway at all. So someone who is eager to see how let's say the apps will work, or if they just catch that idea, they will leave you feedback. I mean, and there are people who are usually leaving the feedback. I know one guy. In every restaurant, I mean, in whatever he is. So I would say that.
Yeah, but users usually give 5 or 1 star. So it's usually good service or very bad.
Yeah.
So we miss that in the middle. So that's the thing. You know what I'm saying?
No.
You have the app, for example, when I'm having the issue with the app.
Right. You were saying about the users who are in the middle, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they will have some sort of status. They're not active. I mean, it's difficult to just say about now, but you need to define what is your daily active user. What's by definition daily active user? Every product has different definition for daily active user. So if I'm like on a bunch of apps, but I'm not returning each day. So it doesn't mean that I do not love the app. It just some of the stuff doesn't interest me. So
Even in the app that you showed us about the bicycles, you're not going to use it daily. You're going to use it when you need it.
yeah, that's right. That's right. But you need to create. This is what we're going to do now. We need to create engaging moment for the users to force, because in the bike business it's hard to be a service like twice a year. You need to make up something, and this is where the marketing efforts are taking place. For example, changing the lights before the winter, changing the tires, blah blah, all of this stuff. So it's kind of a combination of your product skill plus marketing plus whatever.
I have one question. Do you think, because I'm not in the IT, but I'm really interested in GDPR policies, do you think that GDPR will somehow change the onboarding and things that user has to do, has to read, has to go through to be able to use the app?
It already changed actually on some of the products which we are having as well, which I shown. On the GDPR, we need to add it like plus additional regulations, because it was a fintech startup where we needed to add like a bunch of the stuff. Are you experienced in trading? Are you going to invest like this amount of the money? So yeah, it's pretty much difficult, I would say, to cope with that as well. So adding a GDPR on top of it, it's really a pain in the ass. And especially right now, adding this secure customer authentication, if you're using any of the payment providers out there, let's say Stripe or Braintree by PayPal or whatever, there is also a secure customer authentication which is required by each bank from 15th of September in European Union. So if you're adding a credit card during your onboarding, it will be like fucked up totally. Yeah. I think we don't have time. Yeah.
My question would be, is it good thing or a bad thing if you have a too quick onboarding process? Because if you like see...
Yeah, you can divide it, yeah.
Yeah. Because if you look at Facebook, you just need 4 inputs. Like,
Yes, it's also a good option, but I didn't put deliberately on the slide. So this is one of the improvements which we could do on one of the products inside MOP. So I'm afraid, yeah. So this is also the good idea. You, for example, force the rules in the beginning, which you need to have, which is a small subset of necessary data. And after that, if users are here in the app, they just start using it. Then, when they initiate first action, whatever it is on your product, you can provide them some additional stuff to be fulfilled. And after that, they will be like fully onboarded user.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you for your opinion because I'm a very passionate Pinterest and LinkedIn user, and the endless scrolling is taking a toll on my life, really. But I know that usually I started using those apps because some of my friends recommended it, or they sent me something that was published on LinkedIn and I wanted to see it, so I made an account. But I noticed that when I send from Pinterest stuff, it is really, really hard for people to read it or see it in a user-friendly way without making an account, and people usually say, please stop sending me this stuff, I don't want to make a Pinterest account. And I think it's a really bad kind of marketing for them. So
Yeah.
why aren't they making it more user-friendly? Because it's their publicity.
Honestly, don't know. That's a good question. It's because Instagram does that. If you're not having a locked account, or if your account is not private, you're able to see the content.
Yeah.
I don't know why that Pinterest is. Maybe this is their way to force the users to join in, but probably they're tracking that behavior. I mean, I've never been interested in that because I do not love Pinterest, as you say. My wife is using it for the flat restructuring, so
Yeah, but
she bothers
LinkedIn
me all the
also
time.
isn't really user-friendly, LinkedIn, in that way.
LinkedIn,
Yeah,
yeah, I would say same as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
which is really, really bad. I mean,
We were listening the LinkedIn product manager 10 days ago in Belgrade conference, and she quit LinkedIn. Yeah, she's on a sabbatical right now. She quit LinkedIn for
that says a lot.
yeah. Anyone?